Welcome back to my channel. I am here to do a July reading wrap up with you. I read 8 books in July, and let's go through them. The first book that I read in July was Selfish by Kerry Docherty. This book is a memoir that is about motherhood, telling your truth, unapologetically telling your truth. This was like a little bit of a different type of memoir than what I've read before. I usually gravitate towards memoirs of celebrities or people that I know. Kerry Docherty is someone that I do not know. I got this as an advanced reading copy from Harmony, Rodell, and Convergent, which is a imprint of Penguin Random House, and they were hosting a virtual book club with Kerry. So I said, let me give it a go. I have the memoir, let me read it. And I mainly listened to the audiobook, which was cool because it's read by Kerry. I did not rate this as I've taken a page out of my friend Andriana's book, which is not to give a memoir a rating because at the end of the day, it's someone vulnerably telling you their story. So I'm not going to rate this book. And I think I'm going to take that approach from memoirs moving forward. But I do feel like, in my honest reader's opinion, this book could have done with another round of editing. I felt like there was a lot of information that was included that as a reader, I didn't really feel like always had a purpose or like threaded through the story in a tangible way. So this was my first read of July. On a very different note, my second read of July was Fabulous Bodies by Chuck Tingle. Loved this book. This is for my horror people who love a book and are not afraid of body horror. There was a lot of body horror in this book. I truly enjoyed it. I was able to get an ARC. Thank you to Tor Nightfire. I listened to this one. Also an ALC. Thank you to Macmillan Audio. I absolutely ate this one up. If you are a horror person, I recommend picking up the audiobook. The narrator did an excellent job. This was my first Chuck Tingle read, and since then I have picked up Camp Damascus because it is another read that is really highly recommended from Chuck Tingle. I absolutely enjoyed this and really, really recommend it for those of you who love horror. My third book of the month was The Summer Pact by Emily Giffin. This was a book that my cousins read as part of our cousins book club. A lot of thoughts about this one. This was mainly taking place in Capri in Italy, so it definitely gave a summer vibe. I loved the scenic approach to this book. I've been to Capri, so it was really nice to kind of like put the picture together as I was reading it, which I enjoyed. But let's just say I'm glad I borrowed this from the library and it's not on my shelves because I would never reread it. This is the only Emily Giffin book that I read. I just felt like there was so much that was rushed at the end. It felt kind of like all over the place and thrown together in a way where she just felt like she was trying to hit certain boxes of what she should include in a book. She does have a new release that came out in July that is getting pretty good reviews. So maybe I would pick that one again if it was a picked for book club, but I don't see myself reaching for her writing. It didn't seem like anything that called to me. Like, it gave me remnants of a Rebecca Searle book, like kind of like One Italian Summer, but like it didn't pull me in the way that a book like Rebecca Searle's would. It just didn't seem super engaging and I wasn't really tied to any of the characters. It's a good book club pick in the sense that there is grief spoken about, but not as many layers as I would have liked for my book club pick. I also read Dolly All the Time by Annabel Monaghan. Dolly has been on my mind since I closed this book. This was my first Annabel Monaghan book. I'm so grateful that I got to meet Annabel this month as well. She was doing an event at Northport Books on Long Island, and I got to meet her and hear her in conversation with Tessa Bailey, and it was such a joy.
Guidance. I light a candle. It's like all this like woo-woo stuff. It just gets me in like the zone, and I write for as long as I can until someone else in my family wakes up. And I find that it's usually 2 hours, are the best writing that I do during the day. You write early.
I'm 5 a.m. too.
Yeah, because, and I'd be interested to hear what you say about this, but I think it's because like my heart is awake and my brain is not entirely awake. So I'm not like, well, that's so stupid. Oh, this doesn't make any sense. He would never say that. Like all the ways that I'm questioning myself, it's like, I'm not doing that yet. I'm just writing a story.
It was such a joy to listen to her speak so soon after reading Dolly All the Time. I am pleading for a book about Gus and a love interest. I love Dolly's family dynamic. I love Dolly's son, Gus. It was such a wonderful book that not only told love in a way that felt like you can have love even if you have had life before it. I think it's great for readers who are a little bit older in their 30s and 40s because it allows for you to absorb romance in a way that doesn't always look like college aged or, young 20s. It was really nice to read a main character that I could relate to a little bit more. I will definitely be picking up another Annabel Monaghan book, but I love this. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a coastal summer romance. It was heartfelt, it was layered, it was engaging in a way that I haven't really read this summer from a romance yet. So I was really, really excited about this one and I rated it 5 stars. Then to switch gears a little bit, I read my first Riley read of 2026, and that is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This book came out a few years ago. It had been on my physical TBR for some time, and I hadn't yet picked it up. I thought this book takes place in July. It's July 15th. Let's give it a go, and I'm so glad that I did. There are mixed reviews on this one, so I'm just going to speak in my opinion. I can't really speak to the opinions of others, but I love this one. It was intriguing. It pulled me in. In this book, we're following two best friends, Ethan and Billy. They typically camp out in the backyard on a summer evening, and on this one summer evening in the middle of July, Ethan is camping out with his best friend Billy in the backyard, and he wakes up to Billy missing. And all of the adults search for him. The cops get involved. They create this big wide search, and years later, nothing is to come of it, and we never find out what happens to Billy. A body is never found. And then we're kind of jumping forward into time with Ethan being adult and back in his parents' home post-divorce. And you're figuring out how Billy is still playing a role in his life. Does the grief that he's over, never really knowing what happened to his best friend, coming out in different ways? He interacts with friends from years ago that he had when Billy went missing. So it's really interesting. It is so intriguing. I thought it pulled me in a really good way. Obviously, the bar for Riley Sager is really high for me because The Only One Left is one of my favorite books of all time, and it was also my first Riley Sager. So the bar will always be at The Only One Left is the best book that I've read by him. But I felt like this one came really close. I am planning to film rating my Riley reads because there are so many books by Riley Sager that I have on my physical TBR. Most of them I have read, a few I have not yet. But this is definitely up there. I really enjoyed this one. If you're looking for a summer thriller, it's not paranormal, but there can be some paranormal elements to it. So if that is kind of not your thing, maybe don't pick this Riley up. I was a fan of this one. Like I said, everyone kind of had their own opinions on this one. It was a bit mixed, but I enjoyed it. And then two books that I recently read are I Who Have Never Known Men and Good Joy, Bad Joy. I have a vlog with my friend Andriana on here, Meet Me at the Bookery, where we talk about both of these books. So let me give a little synopsis about them both, and then for more of our thoughts, you can head over to the links that I'll put in the description box. So the first one that I read was Good Joy, Bad Joy by Mikki Brammer. This is my first book by Mikki Brammer, and I will definitely be picking up another one. I absolutely love the writing in Good Joy, Bad Joy. It clocks in at less than 300 pages, and you fly through it so quickly. We're following our main character, Joy, who is an 89-year-old woman. You follow her as she interacts with the people in her community, as she cultivates her garden and cultivates community around that. You interact with her daughter and her grandson. You find out she's widowed. She has this slow lifestyle that you kind of just become wrapped up in as you start to learn more and love more about her. And then as you're finding out more about her, you find out about her best friend Hazel, who, not a spoiler, but was recently diagnosed with cancer and is coming to the end of her life. And you see their friendship kind of transition and change as Hazel navigates the end of her life, and Joy is supporting her through it, but also going through real life grief at the same time while Hazel is still alive. It was so interesting to read from the perspective of a 90-year-old woman and her best friend. You find out that Hazel and Joy have been friends for their almost entire lifetime, dating back to when they were 16. Hazel chose the path of being a single woman who never had children and living in the city. And Joy chose the path of getting married early and having children early and moving up to Beacon upstate. So it's really interesting seeing how they're both two different personalities but have come together in such a beautiful way. I loved this book. I rated it 5 stars. There's no spoilers there. It was just one of the best books that I've read this year, to be honest. It will definitely go in my top 10 of 2026. I'm going to link the video where we talk about this on Andriana's channel down below so that you can hear more of her thoughts as well. Then I read I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This book came out in 1997, and we're talking about 40 women who find themselves in a bunker underground and they have no idea how they got there. So this is a bit dystopian, a bit creepy at times. I wouldn't call it a thriller, but there's definitely some horror elements with some jarring scenes. It is one long chapter, so it is less than 200 pages, but it is one run-on chapter, which was kind of jarring for me as someone who flips between the physical and the audiobook. I had to kind of find my way through this one, but I devoured it in less than 48 hours because I had a deadline. Andriana and I talked about this one in my most recent video, which I'll link down below, and I loved this one. I think I rated it 5 stars if I'm not mistaken. It's a very different 5 stars than Good Joy, Bad Joy, but I did enjoy all of the different parts of womanhood that this book touched on. I also felt like it was a great book to read with a friend. I think Andriana and I just talked about it and unpacked all of these different parts of it together, which was really enlightening, and it was a great discussion. I want to reread this. I feel like there were so many things that I missed because I was rushing through it in a deadline type of way for our book club. But I would reread this again. It was so timely, honestly. And I think this book will last a lifetime and many lifetimes because there are so many things that have changed since this book was published in 1987 about our modern world that are still so present and so important to be discussed. So I loved this one. If you enjoy dystopian fiction, a little bit of weird girl lit, a little bit of horror elements, like not horror elements, but like there's some spooky scenes. Like I was reading this at night and I was like, I gotta put this down. I'm not trying to have nightmares. Definitely recommend if you haven't read this yet. And Andrea and I were both saying like this could kind of go down as a classic, to be honest, because there are so many important topics touched on. And the last book that I read in July was just a Highland Fling by Naina Kumar. This is my second book by Naina Kumar. My first book being Flirting with Disaster by Naina Kumar. This one came out in July. We're following our main character, Nilu, who goes to the Scottish Highlands for her father's wedding. Her father and her mother got separated when she was really young, and it kind of pushed her and her father apart as the distance from her father living in the Scottish Highlands to her living in California and not really always seeing that effort from her dad in their relationship. It pushed them apart. He also had gone through some health issues that pushed them further apart without the transparency that Nilu would have wanted to see. So she's coming back to Scotland for her father's wedding. She already has a lot of complicated feelings about that. And as she lands, she has this one night stand with a bagpiper who ends up wearing a kilt. It gets very kilty in here. She has a one night stand. She thinks she's never going to see this guy again. And then she goes to the weddings and he is right there front and center. She finds out that Jacob, our male main character, and her previous one night stand is someone who has become very close to her father. We find out about that relationship. All of these things happen that kind of transpire to her going on a road trip with her father and Jacob. So you're on this journey, you're driving along the Scottish Highlands. Naina does a great job of creating this atmospheric, scenic route that you're all taking together. You have everything going on between Nilu and Jacob as they get to know each other and have feelings towards one another. You also have this unpacking of a complicated father-daughter relationship between Nilu and her dad. I think Naina does a great job of hitting on the South Asian representation of what a father figure can be like, having a lot of care for their daughters, but not always knowing how to verbalize that care and show that care in a way that is well received. I loved this one. I think Naina did a great job of creating balance with romance and family dynamics that aren't always perfect. I also love that Naina writes characters that are women who are not just in STEM, but women that pursue passion in the arts and creativity and entertainment. Our main character, Nilu, works in reality TV production, so that's something that's really cool to see from a South Asian female main character. I've read 2 of her 3 books. Say You'll Be Mine is the one book that I haven't read yet, but that will definitely be on my TBR because now I just can't get enough Naina. I 1000% forgot to film a wrap up to this video, so because this is coming in hot, I'm going to give you my August TBR to wrap this up. This is a mood TBR for the month of August. I don't really know what the outcome will be. There are a few on here that I definitely am reading and reviewing, and a few that I will pick from as I go through the month and see what my mood unfolds. The first one being Tapeworm by A.P. Thayer, released from Zando, and this comes out August 18th. It is a vampire novel and something that has been on my radar. And then another book that comes out in August is Unprecedented Times by Malavika Cannon, and this is a coming-of-age debut novel. And then I picked this up in the beginning of the summer, but I still haven't gotten to it, and I need to read it before the fall, and that is Slasher Summer by E.L. Chen. The Summer Girlfriend by Christina Forrest. Need to read. This is the book of the summer. I am needing all the romance before I fall into all the spooky fall books, so I will definitely be reading this month. And then because I'm in my cowboy bag after Done and Dusted, which I read this month, Love Wells Kept by Bailey Hannon is a book that is on my radar. And the last one is Tara DeWitt's Lost and Found. So that is my TBR. Please come back next month and see what I actually got to. But I love chatting July books with you, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye.